Okay, what's going on, everybody? So let's elaborate on this report that's now out. And I put out a short on this a little while ago. If you haven't seen it, MLB met with the owners of the organizations and privately disclosed to them that the organizations have lost $1.3 billion in revenues. Now it's been estimated bumped up to $1.8 billion, according to a new report, which I'm going to put on the screen in a minute. Okay, the Mets are leading the way with $350 million in losses in 2020. This is all 2025. Okay, so which is crazy. Now, let me put this up, and then I'll get into it even further when we get this off the screen. But take a look at this article. This is right from Forbes. I'm also going to attach it down below so you can see for yourself. Okay, now get on the screen here. Here we go. Mets lead MLB financial losses after record-setting season. Now, profits and revenues across baseball are sky high for lots of reasons. But there are reasons why our franchises are experiencing losses, and we'll get into that as well. New York Mets have not been shy about committing to leading payrolls under billionaire under Steve Cohen, but after going all in last winter and then failing to make the playoffs, the losses appear to be adding up. Remember, the Yankees were pounded for not bringing in Juan Soto or not outbidding the Mets for Juan Soto. And they were also said that if the Yankees did it, they wouldn't be able to spend beyond them. Well, that's exactly what happened with the Mets, right? Nobody gives a damn about Twitter talking points and narratives. These are facts. The Mets were reportedly the real leaders in financial losses amongst Major League Baseball franchises as the league overall lost an eye-catching sum despite some record-setting financial successes this year. MLB has privately told owners that teams lost $1.8 billion last year, led by the New York Mets with about $350 million in losses. This is right from Bob Nightingale in USA Today. The Mets player salary commitment was the primary driver of the losses. The team ranked second in all of baseball with $342 million payroll for 2025. The third place team was the Phillies. They had a $293 million payroll, and they lost $85 million this past year as well. The Los Angeles Dodgers would have had a $350 million payroll in 2025. And remember, the majority of this was deferred for the next decade. So their payroll is closer to $500 million or $450 million without the deferrals. Okay, it was able to offset more of their losses with attendance revenue and ad revenue, with sponsors eager to associate themselves with two-way Japanese superstar Shohei Ohtani. So the most marketable player in the game, but they also have the luxury of being owned by a hedge fund. Okay, which puts them in a different stratosphere. However, with MLB attendance increasing and sponsorship revenue growing to record-setting levels across the board, it may come as a surprise to hear that the league lost so much money. Brands are responding to this resurgence in interest, with MLB just the second North American sports league to exceed $2 billion in team sponsorship revenue after the National Football League. The league accumulated a record 17.8 billion views in its social media accounts, 20% increase over last year. Nightingale also noted that the financial losses are measured in paper money only, and that the 1.8 billion figure does not really account for the growth that franchise owners are enjoying. So it's going right into the valuation of the franchise, okay? It doesn't reveal the financial growth in the franchise value record revenues, or that Cohen is worth $21 billion, he added. Okay, again, back to franchise valuation. Your owner's net worth does not equal the franchise's net worth, the franchise value. That's not how it works. Still, given the 9-figure losses for the year, the Mets could reconsider their team-building strategy. 5 years after he took over, Cohen's willingness to top the list for financial commitments in the sport has yet to produce a World Series championship. And in the first year record-setting $65 million contract for Juan Soto, the team took a major step back in contention. That could be enough to force a more frugal approach from the Mets this winter. But given the Cohen's history Fans shouldn't count on it. Now, let's get this off the screen. Okay? Let's get into it a little bit. I'm going to elaborate a little bit further. Shout out to everybody in the chat, by the way. Okay? Make sure you smack Kunstler, Yeti, Beagle. What's going on, everybody? Now, let's elaborate a little bit further into the revenue number here. Okay? $1.8 billion. Team losses, like I said, $350 million for the Mets. They led the way. Owner concerns. Some team owners have publicly stated, some, not all, have publicly stated their teams will lose money in 2025, with one owner projecting losses of $50 million to $60 million. The reasons for losses that are broken down. Regional sports network collapse. The bankruptcy of the Diamond Sports Group is causing many teams to lose their TV contracts. And that was, I think, in Texas, right? And the significant revenue from them, which has historically been a major income source for MLB teams. This situation may affect more than a third of the league's teams. Player payrolls. The higher payrolls, especially for teams that fail to make the postseason, are cited as a primary driver of financial losses. Right? Mets. Lack of salary cap. Compared to other leagues like the NBA and the NFL, MLB's lack of a salary cap is seen as a factor in the large disparity between team revenues and profitability. We've talked about this a lot, right? Owners are pushing for that. Unions are pushing for more, and the players are pushing for higher salaries and so on and so forth. This is where it's going to be a contentious discussion next year in the collective bargaining agreement, which can lead. I would encourage folks to brace yourselves for a potential lockout of some degree, unless this thing is resolved before that. Okay, financial successes. You got sponsorship revenue, right? Look at Star Insurance with the Yankees, net them $25 million a year. Now, Yankees are not on this list. I'm curious to see where they stand, right? Overall revenue. Overall MLB revenue is still growing due to an increased attendance, ticket sales, and sponsorship income reaching a record $12.1 billion in 2024. So these are the types of things. Bally Sports had 9 million. Exactly. Rangers, Diamondbacks. So TV networks, and there are components of this that were layers into the profitability of certain franchises that were taken down, right? Unfortunately, TV deals and most likely. So, but that's a whopping number, $1.8 billion. And again, you know, and I'm give you an example. Spending doesn't always solve the financial things, right? As much as people want how to spend and spend and spend and spend and spend, and the attack on what he doesn't spend like a wild drunken sailor. George Steinbrenner, he spent like a drunken sailor in the 80s and half the 90s, and they stunk. They were one of the worst teams in baseball. Remember that? People like to revisit history only when it comes to Hal, but not when it comes to George. Hal's payrolls are $100 million higher than George's, right? And yet, the results aren't bearing the fruit that the fans want and that the owners want. This is just the reality of the game. It's a different game today. It's a different business, completely different model. And again, too, that's one of the things that I asked: would these owners that spend, like the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Mets, and the Brewers, and the Cubs and Red Sox, with the high Phillies, with the high payrolls, would they still be in favor of a salary cap if there was no revenue sharing component? If there was no luxury tax penalties component? Because the teams that spend are the ones being penalized the most, right? This is a clear example with the Mets. The Mets also give revenue sharing money, just like the Yankees do, right? And they lost $350 billion. Million, not B. $350 million, right? Inflation does need to be considered. Okay, George's highest payroll was $218 million. Hal's payrolls are $100 million higher. Inflation doesn't mean fact. It's a different game. Okay? So, Damien, appreciate you. Appreciate you. It's a different game. The teams have to operate on a different metric, right? And like, and just put it this way too, like, the owners for the most part are in favor of a salary cap, but you've got like 5 owners that drive the revenue sharing, and then you got 25 owners who are recipients of revenue sharing money who don't spend it on players, who pocket the money, and they want a salary cap, but it's going to help them put a bigger share of the pie, because at the end of the day, it's a big share of the pie that's distributed amongst owners and players, right? Owners want a bigger share, players want a bigger share. And the fact of the matter is, do we go to the games to see the owners? Do we go to the games to see the players? We go to the games to see the players, right? So This is where the disparity and this is where the contentious parts of the discussion is going to continue to take place after the CBA, right? And I 100% a salary floor. I brought this up too. Salary floor. I mean, at this point, I would hope that they discuss this in the next CBA. And again, I don't work for the Yankees. I don't work for Major League Baseball. So who knows what they're going to be arguing about. But this is a pretty obvious thing as someone who has a degree in economics, right? And someone who understands math to a basic level. Okay, if teams are pocketing this free money, why should the teams like the Yankees and the Mets drop 10 spots in the draft? Right? When these teams are pocketing all this free money, not spending it on players, shouldn't they be the ones dropping 10 spots in the draft and forfeiting their draft picks to teams like the Yankees and the Mets or the Dodgers and the Red Sox and the Phillies, or generally those 5 teams are the ones that give up the most revenue sharing money? Yankees are at the top, right? Yes, exactly, Brian. The teams that receive revenue sharing money should reinvest in their team, reinvest in their product, and maybe there won't be this much financial losses. If you're getting free money and pocketing it and your franchise is still losing valuation, there's a problem. Okay? This needs to be discussed. This needs to be made public. Okay? No, very likely it's not going to be a salary cap. The union would never stand for it. But a salary floor that needs to be part of the CBA. But now that this report came out, maybe, I don't know. Well, I think that it's going to make the owners push harder for a salary cap. That doesn't mean the owners are going to, that doesn't mean the union in place is going to agree with it. Right? Coach Carl. Yeah, exactly, Coach Carl. They should get lower picks than the Yankees. Yeah. Give the Yankees picks 1 through 10 in every draft. Gosh, I got that right. Love it. I love that idea. Ken, what do you know? Jordan. Yeah, they wanted a big mark. And to a degree, they do pay for his player's salary. And it's not fair, especially when you have this type of stuff that comes out. But again, I'm also somebody who understands history and who fact checks, right? When did the Dodgers become this conglomerate? Anybody know when they just started? They didn't win a World Series for 32 years, from 1998 to 2020, from 1988 to 2020. But before that, when did the Dodgers all of a sudden become a monster again? Right around 2014, 2015, right? What happened during that time? Can anybody point out? Anybody know what happened around that time with the Dodgers? Well, exactly. Highest taxes supporting states with the law. Exactly. That's why New York and California need to stop subsidizing all the states with low taxes. Right? Yes, exactly, Jordan. When the Dodgers sold their team to the Guggenheim Group, which is a hedge fund that manages $400 billion in assets. They're the Goldman Sachs. Okay? And what happened after that? After they were bought by the Guggenheim Group, shortly thereafter. They brought in a particular person, Andrew Friedman, who was the GM of the Rays, was one of the architects of why they were so good. They brought him in afterward. Now he has financial assets to play with, right? So they brought in a good person who now has a boatload of money that he can allocate. And now they have the ability to defer this money because when you're owned by a hedge fund, you have venture capital stuff, you finance debt with debt. It's debt upon debt compounding. And they can basically sell this off to a next ownership group and not have to worry about this right now, right? This is why they're able to sign everybody and then just defer boatloads of their contracts. Otherwise, what would happen? Their payroll would be close to $500 million right now. But right now, they're floating under the radar. They're floating around where the Yankees and the Mets are, right? There should be a requirement that teams that receive revenue sharing money invest in their teams. Otherwise, you have to give that money back to teams like the Yankees immediately. And you have to give your top draft pick to the Yankees immediately. It has to be that way. Right? Magic Johnson's a minority owner. He's a minority owner in the Dodgers. He owns about 2% of the Dodgers. The Guggenheim Group is the main entity that owns the Dodgers. Okay? Yeah, the Diamondbacks, reallocated the money that they received. But teams like the Pirates don't spend. Marlins don't spend. Athletics very hardly spend. They started to spend this year. But the other teams, they don't do anything with the money that they receive. But they have really nice luxury boxes, and their owner's a billionaire. What the hell is good? What's the point of a luxury box if you can't put people in them? People can't afford to go to them. Or if you can't even get fans in the stands. You got a really nice private jet. You're going to fly to an empty stadium? Thanks to the money that the revenue team that you're getting from revenue sharing that you're not required to pocket and you're not required to invest in your team? NFL does have a salary cap. Yeah. It's a different type of salary cap, just like NBA. They have a different type of salary cap. They're capping the amount of years you can get. Now it's, I think, a 5-year supermax contract. But you can get a boatload of money in the 5 years, but it doesn't go beyond 10 or 15 years or anything. It's 5 years max. And that's it. Right? Yeah, minor league games, exactly. But this is the type of stuff. These are the types of reasons why the franchises are losing valuation, but they're still making profits. Alcantara is not my first pick. Not my first pick. At least the Pirates extend their players. When did Paul Skeens get an extension? Who did they extend? Aside from Brian Reynolds, and they got him for dirt cheap. Who else have they extended? Did the New York Giants just fire the ball? Did they really? Get out of here. The New York Giants just fired their head coach? Wow. Okay. All right. Tatsuya Amai, the guy that got posted, they announced to get posted last night from Japan. He's the guy that I want. I don't want any of these guys that are attached to qualifying offers because they're number 3s and number 4s. And I'm not going to give up 2 draft picks and $1 million in international money to somebody who's not a number 1. Coach Carl's got C. Alcantara type seats. That living in style, Coach Carl. I love it. That's why you are who you are, right? You got a gift. You do. Yes, you do. Yes, the Pirates cheat their players out of bonuses. Rowdy, Tellez, Ikeafa. There were a couple other players. Andrew Heaney, they were scheduled to get bonuses, and they were just cut like a week before they were eligible to get the bonuses by the Pirates because they didn't want to pay them. And you think they're going to pay Paul Skeens? It's not going to happen. He's not going to get expensive until next offseason. After this year, his pre-arb years are up. Then he becomes arbitration. Pre-arb years are limited. For those that don't know, you can't make more than about $700K, 700 and something K. Next year in his first arb, he can go from $700K to $20 million. That's when the Pirates will probably trade Paul Skeens. Okay, those are peanuts on the dollar. Peanuts extensions, Mitch Keller and Reynolds and Brian Hayes. And they're still why isn't their team better, Jordan? And good for them for doing it, but why isn't their team better? Why are they not reinvesting the money into other players? Why have they not extended O'Neal Cruz? Two-star, yeah. At least one for now. At least one for now. What's up, Long? What's going on, Jason Long? In house. But I wanted to get this information out to you because there's so many people that make these ridiculous claims, especially, and they use their Twitter narratives and say, why aren't the Yankees spending everything, getting everybody, right? Completely clueless takes from people who don't understand baseball and they definitely don't understand economics and business, right? But this is what happens on why can't the Yankees get all 8 of these guys? Or whatever. That doesn't work that way. It doesn't work like that. Who's getting, well, the GM meetings start today, which is generally, same thing, Long, appreciate you, generally sets the stage or kind of puts forth the building blocks for the winter meetings, which are in a couple of weeks. They're in the beginning of next month. But the GMs will get together and start talking trades and who's available. I'm interested in this guy. Who you might hear a couple of trades. You might see a couple low key signings before the winter meetings, but winter meetings is generally when things really get picking up. So this kind of sets the stage for the winter meetings. But this is when it GMs. I mean, there's one person that's not there that's always at the winter meetings. And you know what that is? The agents. Agents are at the winter meetings. They're the ones that can negotiate with the GMs. Right? And free agency and something else too. You want to trade my guy, you got to give him this and so on. So agents have to be there for the big negotiations. Right? The Mets lost $350 million, Stephen B. The Phillies lost $86 million. Baseball franchises lost $1.8 billion. The article that I had up here, Stephen B, I'm going to attach down below so you can read it yourself. Okay? Yeah, exactly. How's the Chiefs getting Yankees? Exactly, Ken. Tell them how it is, bro. Well, exactly. Takes revenue sharing money. And there's now, and I mentioned this last week. So last year I profiled the valuations of franchise. Every franchise but two was worth at least $1 billion. This year, every franchise is worth at least $1 billion. There's not a franchise now that's worth less than $1 billion, including the Pirates, including the Marlins. And yet, their payrolls are so incredibly low. That is a huge problem, right? That's a huge problem. And it's revenue sharing. It's got to change. Yankees and I've said this before too, and just to put this in even higher, George Steinbrenner's highest payroll was $218 million when he was the owner. The Yankees pay $200 million every year in two areas: revenue sharing and luxury tax penalties. Not even including payroll. Then their payroll is $300+ million. So that's $500 million out of their profits in three areas. Out of their profits. Okay? Not their revenues. Revenues are different than profits. There's so many people who say the Yankees can get, they're sitting on $6 billion in profit. They are not sitting on $6 billion in profits. That's net worth, franchise worth, revenues, completely different entity. Yeah, the Mets and the Phillies were two teams that were mentioned specifically and the amount of money, but there are other teams that are losing money as well. Biggest cheapskate penny pincher in it. Yeah, I hope that's a joke because it is. Yeah. Oh, they make their money. Oh, no doubt about it, not Jordan. Yeah, you live there. You know the deal, bro. They sit in money, man. They swim in it. Why haven't they given Alcantara an extension? Yuri Perez, like some of these other guys. Why haven't they locked these guys up to long-term contracts? Build your team, man. What's going on? They're not on the list, Hayden, so we don't know. I'm gonna keep looking. I'm gonna keep looking to see how much the Yankees lost. I don't know. But isn't the goal of a franchise to run a profit? Hmm? Yeah, they take their money from teams and claim to lose money. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Now you'd know already, Clint, if updates. When I get updates, I put it out immediately. You'll know, Clint. But I know Tatsuya Mai, the Japanese 27-year-old right-handed pitcher from Japan, has announced that, and I put out a short on this last night, that he's going to be posted. So he's coming. And he makes all sense. He's the pitcher that I hope the Yankees go after. The Yankees do not have to sign any players with qualifying offers. Not a single player. And they can still get better. Yep, I got folks keep putting it out. Giants just fired Brian Dable. Hey, man, there was some chatter that Bill Belichick or John Gruden might be the next candidate for Giants head coach. Whew. Let's see what happens there. Right? Well, I said this too. I said, I mean, I hope Donnie Baseball takes an opportunity to come to in any capacity he wants. So they don't need Tucker and Bellinger. Skeens is not being traded, Lung. It's not happening. Skeens is not being traded this offseason, no matter what you give them. Okay. They do have the number one for international free agent. Juan Diastagen. Anytime they sign a player with a qualifying offer, they lose 20% of the international money. Make it almost impossible to sign the number one. Exactly. And this is where this stuff needs to stop being tied in. Teams that spend should not be penalized in so many different ways. We have a manager already, Justin. He's not going to be a manager. Scooble, well, the Tigers are apparently going to shop him at the winter meetings. So that's we'll have more clarity at the winter meetings in a few weeks, Susan. But a lot of folks want Scooble. I get it. And I totally get it. No. What's the difference between Tucker and Bellinger, Justin? Aside from price, in terms of production. Livy Dunn's buying a place. Well, she tried to buy Babe Ruth's old apartment, and she got turned down. That I know, Peter. But I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, her and Paul Skeens are they're fit for the Yankees. Forget the Mets. Go to the Mets. No. Big players like that, no. But there is chatter that the Tigers could trade Scooble to the Mets. Yeah, I keep hearing Brian DeBoll. I wonder who the Giants are going to bring in. I wonder who the Giants are going to bring in to replace him. I'm getting all these notifications here. Yeah. Scooble and Quan be the happiest man. Well, again, they don't need to. They don't. I mean, and I said this a couple times last couple of days. The only player that I would even consider with a qualifying offer would be Kyle Tucker. But if you have the ability to bring Bellinger back, then I would take Bellinger instead because financially it would make it easier for them to try to add Imai, try to add Okamoto, try to add bullpen pieces. Whereas Tucker would probably cost $200 million more than Cody Bellinger, and he definitely does not give $200 million more in production. Would make it really hard to do that, right? So, you know, I wonder what the Giants are going to do. I'm curious. I am curious. Yeah. If the Tigers keep Scooble this year, then they're going to try to add to him. And we know that Cody Bellinger is a known commodity here. Right? So we don't know. My guess is they would go after Quan if Bellinger decides to sign elsewhere, and not before that. That would be my guess. And the question is, who would you give up for Quan? I would trade Dominguez. I would not trade Spencer Jones for Quan. Bellinger has an MVP. And I'm talking about, and I'm not saying or better fit for the team, because the most expensive player is not always the best fit for the team. right? Bellinger, we know, is a known commodity, and he outperformed Tucker this year. So, and again, if you can get him for half the price of Tucker, it might make sense. That's just chatter right now, Hayden. He's not posted yet, so we don't know. And keep this in mind too, because there's so many folks that were attacking the Yankees a week or two ago about not outbidding the Dodgers for Yamamoto. The bids that you submit are blind bids, meaning the teams do not know what the other teams are bidding. And Yamamoto made it clear his intentions to go to the Dodgers from the beginning. Okay, he was going to go there no matter what. So this is not about the Yankees out having balls and outbidding the Dodgers. We already knew he was going there. So he used the Yankees and the Mets as leverage to get a higher, bid from the Dodgers. And a signing bonus on top of the posting fee. Right? That's it. And the fact of the matter is he's there. He's got 10 more years. If he doesn't, he's got to stay healthy for 10 more years. I would do Dominguez for Quan, yes. Why Robert who? Luis Robert? Why would he be your choice? He's on a $20 million option too, which was just exercised by the White Sox. So they did exercise his option. So if you trade for him, you're gonna have to assume a boatload of that money. And he's another one that has a hard time staying healthy. Super talent, but he can't stay healthy. Right? Yeah, Boris used it. Yeah. And he did not go back to Yankees. When he got that final bid from Cohen, he did not go back to the Yankees to give an opportunity to counter it. For those that don't know, he did not. I had somebody reporting at the winter meetings last year. He did not give the Yankees a chance to outbid. But the Yankees offered him $400 million more than they gave Aaron Judge. What more could they have done? Right? No, exactly. Exactly, Susan. And people keep pounding the Yankees for not out. You couldn't outbid the Dodgers. You couldn't. How many prospects get it done for Scooble? Probably 3 or 4. Because he's only got 1 year left. But it's got to be the right prospects. It's got to be the right prospects. Yeah, they gave him a private suite. They gave him what else? They gave him like a credit line or something for his mom. Like ridiculous stuff. You want to have those perks? Go right ahead. Go right ahead. The Yankees weren't going to do that. They didn't do it to Jeter and for Judge. Why didn't they do it for Soto? No. That was set a terrible precedent. And now the Mets, look, they lost $350 million after bringing in the premier free agent. What does that tell you? Spending does not always solve everything. Yeah, he was always going to the Dodgers. Exactly. Well, if you're going to trade for Scuba, you have to bring an extension that would be really hard to say no to. And again, for timing's got to be a thing here too, because if there's a lockout next year, you want to lock up this extension now and get him secured. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when Soto signed, he went to the hockey, he was celebrating with champagne and dancing. Like it's all for show. When he had his 27th birthday last week, he was doing the same thing, a dancing video. It's like, come on, all right, whatever. You got your bag, dude. Be gone. You don't see Otani doing that type of stuff. I never see him flashing stuff ever. Yeah, I wonder who the Giants are going to bring in to replace him, Steven. Fired Dayball. But again, I wanted you to know about this stuff. And again, the article and it's from Forbes about Major League Baseball losing $1.8 billion. I will attach in the description after this stream is over. I'll wrap this up in a minute too. I'll attach it down there so you can read it for yourself. Big time different cultures. Big time different cultures. He didn't even do that stuff when he was with the Yankees. Right? Scooble can be mentioned in the same breath with Skeen. Scooble's got Cy Youngs. Skeen doesn't have any yet. Scooble's the best left-handed pitcher in the game. Skeen's the best right-handed pitcher. He's younger. Skeen's no doubt about it. He's got 4 years of control left as of now. But why would the Yankees trade for Yandy Diaz, and where would you play him? H-bomb, got you, man. In my plus one of Chris Bassett or Giolito, Bassett or Giolito. Yeah, and and mine does not come with draft picks. Doesn't come with a QO. Neither does Okamoto from the contact back. Neither does Cody Bellinger. Okay, so you're going to sign Kyle Tucker. You're going to have to be willing to lose that kid Wandy Assagen internationally, unless the Yankees make trades again, recoup some of that international money. That's got to be part of the calculus. The Yankees have to have that baked in, right? Edwin Diaz also comes with a qualifying offer. I'm a hard pass on him. Honestly, I'm not moving David Bednar out of the closing spot to listen to them freaking trumpets. No, thank you. I'd rather get Pete Fairbanks, who just became a free agent, and he's no worse than Edwin Diaz. No. I got you, Stephen B, man. Edwin Diaz is attached to a qualifying offer. So we got Ben Rice at first base, Rocky. Murakami doesn't come with a qualifying offer, but based on fit and what the Yankees need the contact bat more than you do the power bat, right? Which is why Okamoto, in my opinion, is a better fit for the Yankees. But again, I don't work for the Yankees. They don't listen to my ass. So H-Bomb, thank you for the super chat, man. I appreciate that. I always appreciate the generosity from you folks. Kenley Jansen, my guess is they're going to try to shoot higher in the bullpen. That'd be my guess, if I had to guess. Fairbanks is a guy I would definitely go after. Bo Bichette, pass. Thank you, H-Bomb. Appreciate you, man. And I don't only respond to people who give me shout-outs like some other channels. I mean, to give me super chats like other channels do. I try to respond to as many people as I possibly can. Get everybody involved in discussion. Problem with cold weather? Who mentioned that? And what cold weather? We don't play in the winter. That'd be an interesting take. The Yankees would probably be in the mix for all of them, Hayden. Yeah, I just don't see where would they play Murakami. I like him, but where would they play him now? Now that we have Ben Rice has emerged for what he's emerged, now that we've got stability on third base. Deb, appreciate the kind words, man. Thank you. I never heard that before. That Fairbanks has a problem with cold weather. That's an interesting take. I'm gonna ask NFE about it. Dominguez, oh yeah. Dominguez, yeah. I mean, and he's a good kid. He's a good kid. Nerve issues. Going to the Dodgers. What? I haven't heard anything about nerve issues. I haven't seen it affect his performance. They like his power. But if you look at Okamoto, he has pretty much the same amount of home runs or maybe a little bit more than Murakami does. So if they like homers, I mean, the power, the contact guy is running into as many home runs as Murakami is. So plus he strikes out a hell of a lot less, walks a hell of a lot more, puts the ball in play, and he plays better defense too. And he hits from the righty side. So and to that logic, I think Okamoto's a better fit for the Yankees, but you never know. You never know. So, well, exactly, Ken. That's got to be baked in. You have to you got to bring an extension that it's gonna be really hard to say no to, or impossible to say no to. And Boris knows as much as we do that there's a lockout that hurts Scooble's ability to get an extension because now you have to wait longer and longer and longer. You want to get your extension now. And Boris is not getting any younger either. He's in his 70s. The dude's going to want to retire at some point. Right? Yeah. Pete Alonso on my hard pass. Although he's not attached to a qualifying offer. I'd rather have somebody like Josh Naylor because he's a contact guy. He's stealing. Thanks to Ken for making me think about this guy. I would personally keep Rice at first base. But if you wanted to move Rice to catcher, Josh Naylor is probably the guy I would bring to first base. Well, thankfully we don't have any freezing cold weather here in the summer or in the spring or in the fall. Raynaud's syndrome, interesting. Hasn't really affected his performance, what I'm seeing here. I mean, he's pitching pretty darn well. 4-5 with a 2.83 ERA. He's got a career 3.19. Got a pretty good strikeout to walk ratio too. 59 strikeouts to 18 walks, like a 3-to-1 ratio. Scott Boras. Well, his Boras Corporation is in California, so he lives near Anaheim. How do they make it? Yeah. What's going on, brother? What's going on? What about Mike Trout? I like Mike Trout. Yep, Brian DeBall. Peace. You got deuces they gave me. How you doing? Deuces for you. Yeah. Mike Trout. I mean, they need to add some guys to support Mike Trout in the Angels, man. They really do. They really, really do. Yeah. New York Giants just fired their head coach. Football team. Brian Daboll. They fire him. We'll see who he brings. We'll see who they bring back. And they're 2-8, so I'm not surprised. They have not played well since he's been there. Yeah, I mean, I like Trout, but he can't stay healthy, unfortunately. He has these freak injuries. Neto, what would you give up? What would you give for Neto? Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, Ohtani was great with the Angels. Then he left to the Dodgers. Is it confirmed that Jackson Dart has a concussion? I know he went into protocol yesterday. Is that? Yeah, I think Aaron Glenn. They're making the moves to make the team better, to kind of put the right fits around them. I think Glenn is. I'm a little disappointed that they're most likely not gonna have the number 1 pick in the draft now. But they're starting to win. But if they won a bunch of games now, I'd be happy with that too. They've got a lot of first-round picks now in the next 2 drafts because of the trades that they made last week at the deadline. For the bullpen, yeah, I mentioned a couple, Rocky. I mentioned Reed Detmers in a trade, and I would even give Brent Hedrick a more significant role because he's been pretty reliable with the Yankees since he's been here. So there's no way I'm trading Rice. That's not an upgrade, Rice for Neto. It's just swapping one thing for one thing. Bohm's a guy I profiled this past week too. Bohm could be a right-handed platoon with Ryan McMahon when lefties pitch against the Yankees. He could also, I would already pencil in Giancarlo Stanton and probably miss 50 games because he misses 50 games every year. That's 50 games he could play at DH. He could play some first base too. So Bohm is a guy I would actually consider, and he's got one more year left on his deal before he's a free agent. Easier for the Yankees to do, trade for Donovan. It makes more sense to trade for Donovan than it does to sign Bo. Resign Rosario, yeah, I've been good bench piece. Yes. I would not trade Rice for Skubal, but that's not me. That's just me. It's probably going to cost Dominguez or Jones, though. And then more. And then pitcher. Judge seems to be fine. He seemed to be back in the playoffs with his arm, so he's going to have all offseason to recover, so I think he'll be fine. But he'll be transitioning to DH once Giancarlo Stanton leaves. Yeah. I would hope not, but they could try to make the Yankees take Sonny Gray's money. But if we goose the package up to make it good enough that they don't have to give away Sonny Gray to us, then I would rather do that. I'd rather give him more prospects. And Jarren Duran would be he's not going to be traded to the Yankees. I think he's going to go to the National Leagues. I think the Red Sox they're not going to trade him to the Yankees. But he would be a nice fit too. He'd be fun. Imagine what you'd have to give up for him for being from the Yankees. Good Lord. Card, yeah, I will not take. I would pass on a trade. I'm not taking Arenado just to take Donovan. No. I'll give you more prospects, but I'm not taking that awful contract. No way. They'll try, no doubt about it. But Brian Cashman's not going to do that. We know that. So, yeah, I think Judge is okay. He's decent at catcher. He's decent at first base. Defensively, it's gonna take some time to get better. He's more clearly regarded right now for his bat than Rice. Could be Pagan. Could be another one. Is he a free agent? I know Reed Detmers would be trade. He's got 3 years left on his contract, so he'd be a nice fit for the Yankees if they can get him. Yeah. But anyway, let me get back to work. I want to thank you all for joining me, Tucker Jones, and it's either going to be Tucker Jones and Judge or Bellinger Jones and Judge. I think, Mike. At the end of the day, I profiled JT Realmuto too. I mean, I have a feeling the Phillies are going to try to get him back, but he's a guy I would love to get. There's not a chance in the world the Yankees are going to get Kyle Schwarber. So I don't think there's any chance in the world that any team is going to get Kyle Schwarber. He's going to go back to the Phillies. Trade with the Angels. Could you get Ward and Detmers? Could you do something like that? Ward's got 1 year left on his deal. Then, but what do you do? I mean, where does he play? Left field or center field? Have a great day, Susan, as well. Schoolboy, the Yankees are going to go after him at the winter meetings. So they've already, Tigers already said they're going to shop him at the winter meetings. So appreciate you too, John. I love you too, man. Appreciate all of you. So you're the best. This is the best community out there. I really do believe that, man. No. Just make sure everybody that your notifications are turned on. Because I will continue to put out stuff as it comes in. Right? Ward and Denver could be it could be. He's got some power in the outfield. He could be a legitimate replacement for Taylor Ward, right? Let me see. He's a left fielder. And 36 home runs, 103 ribbies. How old is he? He's 31 years old. So he's well, he's at right around the same age as Bellinger. So could you get Ward and give him a couple years extension? Maybe. His average is not that high. He's batted 228, but he's got 36 home runs, 103 ribbies with a 792 OPS. So, how about his batting splits here? He hits 262 versus righties, 221 versus lefties. No, excuse me, 262 versus lefties, 221 versus righties. He's a right-handed bat, so he hits lefties better. Okay. We're going to bring several guys. I expect the Yankees to non-tender like 4 or 5 relievers next week. So there's a non-tender deadline coming up, and they're going to move on from probably 4 or 5 guys. And I'm not talking about Weaver and Williams. I don't think either one of those guys come back either. So they're going to be short relievers. They're going to need to bring back several relievers. How does Ben Rice remind you of JT Snow? Out of curiosity. I'm just curious. Always, and this is why I like to have the Q&As, because it's good to hear different perspectives from different people. I want to hear what's going on out there, right? And and what people are hearing, and are people fact checking stuff? What do you mean by restore the empire, Mike? How do you do that? How do you do that? Well, what's your interpretation of it? Win? Oh no, there's no doubt about it. Yeah, I mean, we got to get the right players here, the right fits. I agree. Frost, Cousins, Leiter Jr., and Hamilton. I think all 4 of those guys are gone. Yeah, and that's going to save them, about $6-7 million. And then if you never know, they might move on from Clark Schmidt. That's $5 million too. So this is where they're going to clear more payroll room. So, and we'll see who's available. I mean, like, I would have loved Andres Munoz, but the Mariners exercised his option. I'm not surprised. They'd be nuts not to. That's why I like Fairbanks over. I don't want to pay all that money for and give up all that stuff for Edwin Diaz because he has a QO attached to him. There's so many other guys we can get without a qualifying offer that can provide good value in the bullpen. So, and the Yankees are always good at bullpenning. So in that regard, I have faith in this team. But anyway, let me let y'all go. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate all yous. Imanaga, maybe, but not over MI. MI is my first pick. He's my number 1 guy that I want to go after in free agency. Kike, maybe, is an option. Maybe. No. I don't know if Donnie Baseball. I don't know. I really don't know. I hope so. I don't care what, if it's an instructor, an advisor, or whatever. Just get him back in the fold here. Bring him back to the Yankee family, please. Who's we? Rocky, I'm just curious. I never really followed JT Snow that much. I like what Ben Rice brings because he brings something that the Yankees don't have, and he's also an intelligent player. No, he's got a good swing, and he fits the Yankee mold. Ichiro Suzuki. That's what I'm saying. I think Hayden. I think the only player that the Yankees probably would sign that's attached to a QO would be Kyle Tucker. Well, stay tuned, gang. Stay tuned, and I'll keep you updated. Remember, I'm going to attach the article down below once we're done here, and I'll wrap this up now. So you can take a look at it, what your thoughts are, and gives you a little bit better understanding of what the financial situation is in baseball right now, especially after the report that came out today. So, kind of crazy. Yeah, well, that's the Red Sox fault, Pixel Man. Yeah, that's the Red Sox fault. Definitely not the Yankees. You know, Ben Rice has shown us something so far. So every day, maybe, but that means you'd have to trade Austin Wells. And who would you trade it for? Is the question. So that's a question for that's a conversation we have next time. Have a great day, everybody. Peace and love to all of you. Hit that like button on the way out if you don't mind. Edwin Diaz, brother from Cincinnati Reds. Yeah, could be an option. You never know. Peace and love, gang. Let's go, Yankees.